Yo, what is up guys, Grey here, and today we are back with a draft analysis for APA Academy Season 3, I believe. Back with a new team name. Hopefully this is the one that actually gets us a championship. We've come so close in the past with a few runs in playoffs, but yet to actually pick up a title. But yeah, without further ado, let's just get straight into it. As you can see from the screen, it was a tier-based draft with Gmax allowed, and I am firmly of the belief that all Gmaxes are just completely broken and probably shouldn't be allowed in Draft League, but it is what it is. I don't run the league, and if they're going to allow it, I'm going to abuse it, effectively. However, because I think they're all broken, I initially don't really plan to draft a good Gmax mon. I think that because they are so good that you don't get necessarily that much of a benefit from a top tier Gmax, but yeah, there is some that are really, really good. They have nerfed it somewhat in APA Academy. In APA in general, in fact, you had to have run a Pokeball on your Gmax mon. So apart from, I think 3 Gmax mons get a trick, there's no way you get an item other than Pokeball. And it kind of nerfs it a little bit, but it's still ridiculously strong. But to preface this draft, we actually had a draft before that was pre-home, and it was around the time in which post-home was kind of an option. And we drafted all the way through and had our pre-home teams. I was really happy with my team pre-home, and then they decided that we're going to redraft again, and if the mons that come out that were coded in initially but weren't in the game originally, if they came out with home, then you would have a second draft and you could use that team. If they didn't come out, then we were going to use the original teams. But we ended up going for the post-home ones because, as you all know, all those post-home mons definitely are allowed in the game. Not to mention that the way we do chess timer is all done by LAN, so there was always a chance in which we could have actually used those mons because they're coded into the game, but not gone online. So yeah, getting into the draft. First time around, I drafted Sandcore, and I wanted to draft Sandcore again. Fairly simply, I was 7th in the draft, and by the time it got to me, quite a few of the really good Gmax mons had gone. So I was like, I think quite a few. I don't actually remember. It was a while ago, but I'm fairly sure all the good. Some of the good Gmax mons were gone, and like I said, I wasn't really looking at the top tier ones anyway. But if, say, like Gmax Charizard, I think was probably not around. I don't know. I honestly can't remember, but I don't think it was around at this point. Same with Grimmsnarl. Apart from those two, I don't think there's any two that I would really put as a first round pick for a Gmax. So I went with Excadrill, and Excadrill got. It's always been a threat. Every gen it's been really good, especially with the sand. It's phenomenal sand sweeper. Great, actually, like bulky rapid spinner. Base 110 HP is not to be overlooked, but it's mainly just seen as an offensive threat. And with rapid spin getting a buff in this gen, you don't even need the sand for Excadrill to be able to set up and sweep. It definitely helps to have that immediate speed boost, but there's other sets. It gets Mold Breaker as well, which is really handy when you come against things like Rotom. And in the past, I guess Lati, but obviously they're not in this game. But yeah, for Rotoms, this is going to be really handy to have Mold Breaker. Also with the sand, you can kind of bluff whether or not you're running Sand Rush, Sand Force, or whether you're actually running Mold Breaker. And obviously, if I'm going to get Excadrill, there's a good chance I'm going to try and pick up a Sand Setter later in the draft. And I was kind of looking at Tyranitar. Of course, it's my mascot. I had to. I've actually picked it up in the first go round, and I picked up my second pick in the first draft. In this draft, I was kind of looking more at Rotom Wash, and I thought, if I can pick up Rotom Wash second round and just hope that Tyranitar stays, then I could do that. But I was kind of also wanting just to pick up Tyranitar to make sure I had it. But in the end, I actually decided I'm going to go with Rotom Wash, my second pick, because firstly it's in tier 2, which is probably right for where it is, but it's also a really good value for tier 2. And it'll give me a defogger, it gives me ground immunity, which is really nice with Excadrill and potentially Tyranitar or maybe even Gigalith as my sand setter. There's actually quite a few good sand setters in this gen. But Rotom Wash works really nicely with it. It's a good pivot. Brings in things like I say it brings in ground types, but it doesn't. It brings in grass types mostly, and Excadrill doesn't appreciate that. I don't know what I'm getting at here. But Rotom Wash is a really nice pick. It gets Nasty Plot on this gen as well, so it could be a setup sweeper, it could be bulky defogger, it gets Will-O-Wisp, Toxic, and Thunder Wave. It's one of the few ones in the game that gets all of those. I don't know if it got it before, but it gets stored power now. I want to say that it's new to this gen, so it can actually hit quite a few of those bulky grass types if they are also poison type. And on top of that, it gets things like Hex, Pain Split, Will-O-Wisp, Sucker Punch, even if you want to be that guy and run like a mixed one with just because you need the priority. Rotom Wash is really nice. It can be used in so many different ways, and also it's a really nice pivot for my team. And fortunately for me, I actually managed to get Tyranitar, the mascot. Really good mon. I've had most of my success in the league with Tyranitar. It's just such a versatile mon. I say about Rotom being able to run physical or special. Tyranitar, I say physical. What am I doing? I am so tired. I have been up since 5 a.m. Near enough 5 a.m. this morning. I've been up for 12 hours and off like 2 hours sleep. Rotom can be so versatile, being offensive or defensive. Same with Tyranitar. It can be like a Chuffleberry to try and negate that weakness. It can be Dragon Dance. It can be weakness policy. It can be bulky, physical or special side. Assault Vest is a great set as well. Stealth Rock, it gets so much coverage as well. It's just a really great mon. I could go into so many things about how good Tyranitar is, but it also gives me the sand for Excadrill, which is just like that. That's the cherry on top, basically. I would draft Tyranitar even if it didn't, even if I didn't have Excadrill to abuse the sand. It's a really good mon. It does lack reliable recovery, but I can make up for that in a Wish Pass later. And at this point, I was looking at my team, and I was like, other than Rotom Wash, there's really nothing. Like Tyranitar and Excadrill, to an extent, do get checked by grass types, by water types, even not grass types. But they do get checked by grass types, but water types, in particular, are quite bad. So I decided to pick up Celebi as my next pick. I do believe that it was with Tyranitar being a tier 1, I think Celebi was tier 2. I did kind of limit my points, and I could only pick up, I want to say, a tier 4 and a tier 5, or something like that, with my 3 points. As it stood, I think it was a tier 4 and a tier 5, unless I picked up a lower tier Gmax. But Celebi is great. Again, it's another one of those mons that's so versatile. It gets Nasty Block, I think it gets Calm Mind, I'm pretty sure. Swords Dance, if you run physical or special, it is one of those Pixie mons with base 100s across the board. Great offensive typing as well in Grass and Psychic. It's times 4 weak to Bug, but I do have Excadrill and the ability to pick up more Bug checks later in my draft. And yeah, it gives me something to really pressure out any kind of bulky water. Do have to watch out for any Ice Beams, or I know the odd bug move that may come out. U-turn is prevalent, so got to be careful of that, but it's just a really good mon. And also can run it with Stealth Rocks as well, and that means that I don't have to run Tyranitar or Excadrill with Rocks if I don't want to, because both can be like really offensive if I really want them to, or I could run T-Tar with Assault Vest, which means I couldn't run Rocks. So having Celebi does give me that option as well. And moving on, I was very aware that I get completely hard-walled by a grass type, so I decided to pick up Noivern as my next pick. And Noivern, I feel like this gen, it really kind of it's so much better this gen than it has been in previous gens, and it's not like it really got anything more. I guess with Throat Spray and Boom Burst, it does get the ability to boost its special attack, but I think it's just because of the speed tier and how slow generally the Galar Dex is. Noivern has been a really big threat, and I've seen it get a lot of kills in other leagues. Hurricane, Draco Meteor, Boom Burst, Fire, Flamethrower, all those do a ton of damage, even though its special attack is kind of mediocre. It definitely makes up for it with the power of the moves that it gets. And Dragon Flying is such a dangerous offensive typing to have to go up against. Kind of wish that it got Fire Blast just to do that extra damage, but it also gets access to U-Turn, things like Iron Tail or Steel Wing if I want to try and hit a Fairy type particularly hard. I mean, particularly hard is not great because its physical attack isn't amazing, but it's surprisingly bulky as well. It gives me another defogger, even it's not always the best defogger, but it's an option for a fast defogger if I want it. It gets access to Taunt as well, which is really nice, a utility move. And yeah, just generally I think that Noivern fit onto my team perfectly. It does give me a start to a dragon, second piece to a Dragon Steel Fairy Core. And yeah, it gives me something that I desperately needed in a pretty reliable, I would say, grass check, offensive check. And I really wasn't kind of happy with just having that one, so I picked up Chandelure as my other tier 3. Again, this thing is just like, it's so strong on the special side. Base 145 special attack, even if you're Scarf, that's still hitting you really hard. Very difficult coverage to be able to check. I think only things like Hydreigon in the Galar decks will be able to check both its stabs, meaning it's really difficult for Mons to switch into. Gets access to Calm Mind, Will-O-Wisp, Energy Ball, obviously it's dual stabs, Memento as well if I want to run that. It gets Trick as well for any Choice Scarf sets. So it's really good mon all round. It is obviously a little bit limited to just being like a special attacker, but it is what it is. I got so many mons that are versatile, and also I think it works really nicely with Celebi and Rotom Wash just generally. I think that core is really quite dangerous, like, especially because I get so many free pivots into Chandelure with this team. Yeah, next up we have got Golisopod. And this is something I've always wanted to try. I've never got to try it in Gen 7, so I thought might as well try it now. It's got a huge attack stat, pretty bulky as well on the physical side. Quite slow, but at the same time it gives me a pretty good spiker, and also it gives me like momentum, even if I don't necessarily like. It gives me like some kind of weird momentum in which Emergency Exit can really play into my hands if I have it out against the right thing. Especially if like I switch it into, I don't know, an electric type that I'll be able to live, probably the Wackenberry or something. Can switch it into that and then be able to get a free switch out into Excadrill will be fantastic. And yeah, it's just something I really wanted to try. And it does give me a second water type, but I feel like these two just completely do different things. Gliscod sets up spikes, hits hard, it gets access to knockoff. I think it got access to knockoff pre-home, but I don't know. Yeah, it gets access to knockoff. Its dual stabs are great. First impression hits really, really hard. And yeah, the introduction of heavy duty boots, I feel like Gliscod just got a little bit better. And for a tier 4, I think that's just like amazing value, in my opinion. Next up, I picked up Aromatisse, and I think because I decided I was going to go for a lower tier Gmax, I was able to pick up another tier 3, and it was only because I was looking through tier 4 and there was literally no fairy types. The ones that were there was like Galarian Rapidash, doesn't really fit on this team at all. And so I decided I was going to spend extra, pick up a second tier 5, and instead of potentially getting 2 tier 4s, yeah, pick up a third tier 3 even. And Aromatisse is really, really good. It gives me a Wish Passer. It's surprisingly good offensively as well. Like Moonblast hits relatively hard as long as it's not resisted. I think it gets access to Mystical Fire. I could be wrong on that, but I think it gets access to Mystical Fire in this gen. It gives me screens. It gives me a Wish Passer. It gives me a Cleric. It gives me a Fairy type as well, and one that I think really works quite nicely with Noivern and Excadrill. Especially with Tyranitar as well. I think that's the main one. Like, I wanted a Wish Passer for Tyranitar, and Aromatisse was definitely the best one that was available at the time. And yeah, I'm too tired to really think about what Aromatisse really does at this point, but I know it's very reliable, kind of a reliable switch in and a reliable wish passer. So yeah, that's the main thing I wanted on my team, and at this point I'm feeling relatively stacked, I think, but I've got like 2 tier 5 picks and a Gmax left. So next up we pick up Chungus himself. We pick up Greedent, and this thing is like a mini Snorlax, I guess. It's not nearly as good, but the cheek pouch ability is pretty nice. It does get access to Gluttony because it's post home, and it does get like a ton of coverage. I haven't really looked at too much of what it can do, but it gets Belly Drum. I know Belly Drum with cheek pouch Citrus will put me back up to full, I believe, or close enough. And plus 6 attack. It is very, very slow. I think it gets access to Curse. I don't know entirely. I haven't looked at the moveset. I probably should have. And it gets Swords Dance as well. So tons of setup option. It's pretty bulky as well. Could be run as like a wall to check something, but I think it really lacks the reliable recovery outside of a cheek pouch set to be able to sustain too long in a battle. But then again, I've got Aromatisse who can keep passing wishes in, and those two kind of work quite nicely together. Just generally the fairy and the normal types work in conjunction pretty well. So yeah, that's Greedent. I'm kind of excited to use it because it seems like it could potentially be pretty decent, especially for a tier 5 mon. Next up I pick up Baby Machamp, or I guess Gerda Light, if you will, Machoke. I haven't used Machamp in the league before, but I have used Gerda, and Gerda was really good. And Machoke is like a little bit worse. I say a little bit, it's quite considerably worse, but the only thing it's lacking really is Drain Punch. It got Drain Punch, then it'd be probably like on par with Gerda. Outside of the defog, for whatever reason Gerda gets now. Machoke, I kind of just needed a fighting type, and this was literally, I think, the only fighting type in tier 5, outside of me going into, like, I don't know, Timber. What even other fighting types are there? I don't even know what other fighting types there are in Galar. But it's either I go for a tier 5 poison type and go for Gmax Machamp, or I go for Machoke and a Gmax poison type. And I decided that the poison type I wanted just worked better with the team, and though like Gmax Machamp would have been nice, not having an item on it kind of really made me think it wasn't worth it, and I'd rather have just like an Eviolite Machoke that can come in, and it's just a generally like it's just a fighting type. That's all I wanted. I just want a fighting type, and Machoke was the best that was available. So rounding up our draft, we have got Gmax Garboda, and the rules of APA is that you don't have to Gmax on the first turn, which means that I can, if I want to, set up a spikes. I can set up a toxic spikes, I can autotomize, I can curse, I can do any of this stuff before I click the Gmax button. And yeah, Garboda, I think is kind of a sleeper pick for, what was it, I think a tier 3 Gmax. It's like the second to bottom tier. With weak armor, it can become a threat, because any Gmax mon is already doing a ton of damage. If I get up to +2 speed, like I could run a curse set with weak armor, boost my attack and my defense by 1, and then take a hit, get my speed up to +1 to be at that point, and sorry, I have to have a drink. Yeah, get my attack +1, and it, like as soon as I start taking hits, Garboda is going to be a threat. Like there's very few things that want to switch into a boosted Gmax move. So yeah, I also felt like Garboda worked really nicely with my Tyranitar and Excadrill. Like both of them resist the what am I looking for? The Psychic. Jeez. And then I got plenty of things that I think want to switch into a ground type move, like Celebi, Rotom Wash, Noivern, got Isopod. So yeah, I felt like Garboda was just a really nice pick, and it also hopefully deters fairies a little bit. Like, my team isn't really weak to fairies, but yeah, the hope was that I can just kind of, if they bring a fairy, they've messed up. But anyway, that's the team. I don't have an end slide for this, but you can see the team on the left-hand side there. I'm sorry this draft analysis was a mess. Like I said, I'm so tired. I need to go and have a nap before I do my week 1 battle. But I also need to record a team builder for that as well. And I need to record APA pick'ems with Matt. Okay, I got so much to do, but yeah, that's the team. I'm actually really excited to use it. I think I may prefer this to my original draft. It's very similar, to be fair. I think there's quite a few similarities between this and my first draft. But I'm excited to see what I can do. Hopefully, like, I think the target here is just to break even. There's a lot of good battlers in the league, so I don't think I'm going to potentially make playoffs, but we'll see. Like, if I can make playoffs, that's like the main goal. But if I can break even, then I'm fairly happy with that. So anyway, if you did enjoy the video, the absolute mess that it was, then please do leave a like. If you want to, then subscribe. I don't know why you would from this video, but yeah, go ahead and subscribe. And until next time, have a great day, guys. Peace.